Hi everyone, it's me, Diana, the Doll Fairy. Welcome back to my channel. On August 31st of this year, Japanese virtual idol Hatsune Miku turned 15 years old. She's actually supposed to be the age of 16 forever, but she has actually existed now as a part of pop culture for a full 15 years. If you aren't familiar with this character, she is one that blurs the lines between fiction and reality. Miku is a computer program, specifically a software voice bank developed by Krypton Future Media and released in 2007. Musicians could use this voice bank to create vocals for their music, resulting in millions of songs in all different genres united by this character's voice. Her popularity soared when users on Nico Nico Doga, a Japanese video streaming website similar to YouTube, began to upload videos of songs created with her voice bank shortly after her release. Since then, Miku has served as a springboard for so much creativity, including not only music, but also art, 3D animation, video games, figurines, and endless stories. Back in the summer of 2019, I participated in a Miku-themed collaboration with a group of my fellow doll artists, and I made Miku as she appears in the song Deep Sea Girl. Today, rather than recreating one of her iconic looks, I want to create my very own version of Miku. After all, the most remarkable thing about this character, in my opinion, is how she can have an infinite number of identities for an infinite number of creators who work with her. It's almost as if all the different versions of her are all the multiverse variations of who she could be. So I'm calling this project Multiverse Miku, the Miku who exists in the Doll Fairy's personal universe. A Dollfie Dream version of Miku exists, and I got to see this exquisite doll in person at Anime NYC in 2018. I totally would have bought her if it wasn't for her staggering price tag. But I also have never been the hugest fan of her default faceup. It does look very close to her original box art, which I appreciate, but I always felt like it didn't have quite enough personality, and I prefer various customized versions that I've seen. So I decided to make a smart doll version of Miku, using a blank F4 sculpt in milk skin tone. I've been thinking for a while that this sculpt has the right look to it for Miku, and ever since Zazu Doll Wig sent me this aqua-colored wig, I knew I wanted to make my own doll version of Hatsune Miku. I start by heating up the vinyl head with a hairdryer to soften it, and then using a sharp detail blade, cut out the vinyl in the eye holes. The best way to do this is to first cut a hole that's way smaller than you want the finished outcome to be, then go around again removing a bit more in a spiral fashion. Gradually shave away the remaining border of vinyl until you have a nice clean look. If the vinyl becomes difficult to slice through, reheat the head until it's soft again. I also need to cut the neck hole for this one. Luckily, that one doesn't need to look too perfect because you won't really see it. Next, I'm planning my design for the face-up using a face chart from moyashidoll.com. This chart specifically depicts the F4 or Sana/Infinity sculpt. I want my Miku to have cute perky eyelashes and darker, more defined lips than the Dollfie version, so that she will look a bit more glamorous. The Dollfie also has a very neutral expression, while I tend to prefer smiling dolls, so her mouth and eyebrows will indicate a gentle smile. I prep the face for drawing by spraying it outside with my respirator mask on with 2 to 3 separate layers of Mr. Super Clear sealant. Once that's done, I will be able to use watercolor pencils to create the face up, and the pigments will stick to the rough surface of the matte sealant. As usual, I start sketching with a light brown watercolor pencil and will work my way up to darker browns and even black in subsequent layers. The initial shape of the eyes is purposely shaped similar to the Dollfie version and Miku's original art, so that she will have a Miku vibe. But as we go on, she will get more defined lashes. The eyebrows are always the most difficult to place. I'm using a very light green color to start with so that I can easily erase and tweak the positioning until it looks right. Since her hair is turquoise, her eyebrows will have to be as well. The addition of the cute curved eyelashes makes the biggest difference. Doesn't she look so cute now? As I add the indication of a gentle closed mouth smile, I'm really loving how she looks so far. Another thing I'm looking forward to changing from the inspiration to my own design is the color in her face. I've realized that I really don't like it when dolls have very pale lips, so Miku is getting some corally pink lip color and eyeshadow to emphasize her eyes. I'm also giving her pale pink blushing on her cheeks as well as on her forehead, which looks really cute. I spray the head with another layer of Mr. Super Clear to seal in my progress and build up more color in the next layer. I'm very happy with her so far, and from here on out, it's usually smooth sailing. I go in with a darker brown for the eye makeup as well as her mouth. The eyebrows get some deeper turquoise to match what her hair will look like. And now I do the same thing again, this time with an even darker brown, and then eventually black for a really sharp and neat look to the features. I really love her blushy look, so I add more pinks and orangey pinks to her lips and face to ensure that the color won't fade too much after spraying with sealant. Maybe it's just me, I don't know, but I really felt her personality shining through while working on this. And while Miku doesn't really have one set personality, I just feel like I'm really uncovering my personal interpretation of the character and what she means to me, if that makes any sense. I want Miku to have maximum cuteness, so I take some white acrylic paint and add 2 little white highlights to her cheeks. After a final spray of Mr. Super Clear, her face is done. I really love her. I'm not sure yet about glossing her lips, so I'm going to see how she looks with eyes before I decide. I ordered these eyes from the shop Ivory Teal on Etsy, and they are really amazing. They have a deep metallic shine and almost look like they're glowing somehow. They have an absolutely mesmerizing gradient of turquoise green and blue, and if you look really closely, the lines and patterns in the design give me a vaguely techie vibe, which will add to the feeling that she's a virtual being. I use white sticky tack to place the eyes in the head. This always takes a little while to get it right, but eventually they're in. Doesn't that look awesome? I decide I do in fact want to gloss her lips with some Tamiya gloss, which I reserve for the very glossiest of lips. I really am so in love with her already. Let's get to the outfit. My vision for Miku is an outfit that harkens back to her original classic look, with a pleated skirt and turquoise details. But instead of a lot of black and gray in the design, I want to go in a more white, silver, holographic rainbow direction. Kind of futuristic and spacey. Here are my supplies I've gathered. Iridescent rainbow organza, holographic rainbow silver fabric, and a truly holographic rainbow vinyl, along with aurora crystals, turquoise ribbons, and starry charms for details. For her top, I want to give her a tube top with these kinds of seams and embellishments. Over that, I'll make her a translucent jacket with the rainbow organza. My plan for the pleated skirt is to make it out of the hollow vinyl. Will this work? I'm not really sure, but I think it would look pretty incredible if it did, so I'm determined to give it my best shot. I'm doing an extensive study of this pleated skirt from dolldelights.com so that I can get an understanding of how to approach this. Using those measurements as a springboard, I come up with a pattern for a pleated skirt, complete with all of the folds. This requires some math and is a little more complicated than I'd like it to be, but it wasn't impossible. Once I had a clear plan, I cut a strip of the vinyl using my rotary cutter. My piece of vinyl, which I bought as a remnant, wasn't quite long enough, so I added an extra piece to the length and simultaneously tested out whether my machine could actually sew this material. Success! Then I began to form the pleats by matching it up with the paper pattern I made. I used my tiny clothespins to hold the pleats together, but they kept breaking, so I definitely need to get myself some real sewing clips. I started stitching down the pleats at the top portion of the skirt, maybe about an inch down or even a little less. I want the pleats to be able to fan out and not be too stuck together. This was quite a process, but I was very encouraged by how well it was working. It ended up that my piece of vinyl was way longer than it needed to be, and I had enough pleats, so I took my waistband piece and folded it over the top edge of the pleated piece. I stitched across that, and voila! It looks so good! I add a strip of Velcro to both ends, and it's finished. I'm still genuinely stunned that this turned out so well and with minimal frustrations. For the top, I'm going to make my own pattern. So I wrap my Cortex Smart Doll body in some plastic wrap and then cover it tightly with masking tape. This creates a sort of cast so that now I can sketch where I want the top to be and also where I want the seams to go. When I'm satisfied with that, I cut the pattern open at the back and then cut apart the pieces at the seam lines. I trace the pieces onto paper and then add a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around each piece. This will now serve as my pattern for cutting my fabric. Before I do that, I'm creating a mock-up in white cotton fabric that will serve as both the mock-up and the inner lining of the actual top, as long as all goes well. This isn't too bad. I'm just going to adjust the middle piece in between the cups before sewing the outer layer of my metallic fabric. And just look at that rainbow shine. I did most of this sewing by hand because the pieces were so tiny. It took a while piecing together all those bits and trying to match everything up perfectly, but it looks really cool. Now it's time to put the outer top and the inside lining right sides together and stitch along the top and bottom. I clip the curves on the seam allowance and then turn the top right side out. I added Velcro to the ends and, as you can see, used pliers to help me stitch through all those layers. And here it is! Miku's original design has a turquoise tie. I didn't want to give mine a tie, but I did find some narrow ribbon in the same color to glue along the seam lines at the top. I didn't have quite enough of the ribbon for all of the seams, but I did have some gray that I used for the side seams and the bottom edge, which I think looks pretty good and makes me think of the gray shirt Miku wears in her classic design. To prevent the top from sliding down, I used some clear elastic to stitch on some invisible straps. And now for the jacket. I wanted to use the sheer organza for the jacket because not only will it look really cool, but you'll also be able to see the detailed top through the jacket and it won't obscure all that work I did on it. I'm using the bomber jacket pattern from My Little Doll Story on Etsy, which I think will work perfectly. I don't think it's the best idea to iron this fabric, so I'm finger pressing the seam allowances and other creases. For the jacket cuffs, collar, and bottom band, I'm going to use this elastic ribbon. I'll use the blank turquoise side because I don't want the gold floral design to show. If I place this white ribbon with rainbow iridescent accents on top, it has a cute varsity jacket feel to it. As you can see here where I'm about to sew on the collar piece, I needed a guideline for where to stitch, but I can't draw a line on this fabric, so I used black thread and a line of basting stitches to create a guideline. I really enjoy following patterns from sewists that are a lot more experienced than I am, because I always learn something. Like this yoke in here. I never would have thought to add something like a yoke if I had designed this myself. For the sleeves, the cuffs are shorter than the edge of the sleeve, meaning I need to stretch it. In the end, this will create a nice effect around the cuff. I hand-stitched a lot of the details here, including adding the ribbon on all of the elastic ribbon pieces. Now I sew the sleeves into the sleeve holes and the jacket is really coming together. Oh, it looks so cute! Next, I take care of the bottom edge to finish up the jacket. I didn't want the gold design to show at all, so I added another layer of the elastic ribbon on the inside of the bottom edge and collar. This will also minimize the risk of having any of that gold stuff rub off onto the doll's skin. For the collar, which tapers to a point in front, I tucked the end of the white ribbon between the two layers of the turquoise collar and glued to secure it before also stitching it down by hand. And the jacket is complete. I'm really loving all the elements of this doll so far. Now for the accessories and final details. I have these white and turquoise sneakers from dolldelights.com, which I absolutely love and will look perfect with her ensemble. So lucky for me, I don't need to attempt to make shoes. I definitely want her to have a belt, and I have a scrap of this cool black ribbon with diamond-shaped stud decorations. But I also have this perfectly turquoise faux leather cord, which I bought on clearance thinking it would make a good smart doll belt. I decided to peel the studs off the black ribbon and add them to the turquoise and use that. From the belt, I want to hang a chain and some charms for embellishment. I have this really cool 3D star shape, which I took off my bottle of Taylor Swift's Wonderstruck perfume, by the way, and this heart lock and key with Aurora rhinestones. And I have these little buckles that will be perfect for making the cord into a belt. The thing is, the cord is very thick and tough to even fold. With a lot of effort and poking holes using a combination of an X-Acto knife point and a leather needle, I was able to stitch through the cord to attach the buckle. I also used this method to create the holes along the belt. The belt is functioning in theory, but it was really tough to actually get it buckled, so I'm not going to undo it anytime soon. I added a jump ring on the side to hold the rest of the strap in place, and it looks pretty good. Then I made 2 holes for the chain to attach, along with 3 charms. I also added a turquoise diamond too. Once I attached all of that with the help of some jewelry pliers, I glued on the silver studs. I really love how this looks, especially because in Miku's original design, she has a ribbon hanging from her skirt which has a triangle pattern, and this belt with the diamond shapes really reminds me of that. Now Miku needs a pair of headphones. I have these cool geometric rhinestone things that I think would really complement the design well by adorning her headphones. I also want to use these little iridescent star charms and hang them from the headphones, almost like earrings, but not exactly. I didn't have a clear plan for how to make the actual headphones, so I just kind of winged it. I took this flat metal wire I have and wrapped it around a spool of thread to create a circular base for each ear. I then cut out these little donut shapes in craft foam. For the outside part of the headphones, I thought I'd use this holographic cardstock I saved from a Rainbow High package. Then I started going into a retro direction that was kind of a happy accident. I found a bit of this soft foam and cut out circles of this as well. I really liked the aesthetic of using the foam, so I decided to incorporate it. I made the headband portion of the device with more of that flat wire and attached the craft foam on either side of it to create a base to attach the rest of the pieces to. I glued black ribbon and then a narrower magenta ribbon along the top of the headphones to imitate the look of the hair ribbons, or whatever they are, that Miku has on her pigtails in her original design. I changed my mind about the green cardstock for the outside. Instead, I decided to use this white cardstock, also salvaged from packaging, which has a more subtle rainbow sheen that looks really cool. This part was kind of messy, but I glued the soft foam to the inside of the metal ring I made, as well as to the craft foam donut piece attached to the headband, in order to hold all of the components together. I wanted the headphones to have some cool looking button details on them, so I added some iridescent paint to the remaining diamond studs from the belt. For the outer shell of the headphones, I glue the rhinestones and buttons to the white rainbow cardstock, and then glue those pieces to the outside of the headphone structure. Apparently I forgot to film this, but I also attached the little star charms to the metal rings on each side before gluing them to everything else. I used a whole bunch of clips to hold everything together while it dried. I made a little hair accessory for Miku using a small elastic and this iridescent star shank button. I think I'm going to give her one small side ponytail with the rest of her hair down. And last but not least, she needed something around her neck, so I'm using one of these really gorgeous Swarovski crystal hearts on a dark gold chain for a final accent. Now, let's put it all together for the reveal of Multiverse Miku. Making a smart doll version of Miku has been on my list of projects for a very, very long time, and I am really just overjoyed that I finally got to bring her to life and that she turned out so well. I really enjoyed capturing the essence of the character with a design that's reminiscent of her original look, while still having the total freedom to come up with a look that I personally love. Working with these iridescent fabrics and my favorite color turquoise just brought me a lot of joy, and getting to reinterpret this beloved character in my own style was very satisfying and downright fun. I'm especially proud of this skirt. It seemed really daunting to me at first, but it ended up not being quite as difficult as I expected, and I'm so happy with how it looks. Overall, I really enjoyed making all of the clothing in this project, and I really love her Faceup too. Hatsune Miku means a lot to me, besides reminding me of my early college years when I was happily spending all of my time on the internet instead of socializing with my peers. Hatsune Miku to me is a burst of creativity and possibility. I love that she isn't exactly a character so much as she's a whole medium of art and a vehicle of imagination for thousands or even millions of people around the world. So happy belated birthday, Miku. Thank you so much to my patrons whose support helps make all of this doll magic possible. I've recently lowered the prices of my Patreon tiers, so if you'd like to join our community, see behind the scenes stuff, and get early access to videos, all while supporting my artwork, please check out the link in the description. I'd also like to remind you that the Doll Fairy now has an official shop with apparel, accessories, charms, stickers, and lots of cool stuff for sale. I designed all of the merch on thedollfairy.com, so head over to check it out and sign up for the email list to find out the inside scoop about upcoming sales and events. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you all again soon for more doll magic. Bye!